Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Today's special Gita Jayanti program. Today's special class will be delivered by His Holiness Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Nrsimha Maharaj. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamunatira Jaya Radha
Yashodanandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadesha Tarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So today is the auspicious day in which Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, which is recorded within the Mahabharata by Srila Vyasadeva.
今天是吉祥的主 Krishna 的佛家放歌的日子，佛家放歌为维阿萨内容记载在玛哈巴拉的书中。
And this Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, but heard by Dhritarashtra by the grace of Vyas.
这是 Krishna 和 Arjuna 之间的对话，但是骑着维阿萨的仁慈，对他巴舍聆听到了这个对话。
Dhritarashtra was in his palace at Hastinapur, far away from Kurukshetra, but he was given the power to hear, or rather his secretary, Sanjay, was given the power to hear the conversation which took place at Kurukshetra by the grace of Vyasadeva.
对他巴舍呢，坐在哈斯特纳布尔他的皇宫里，骑着维阿萨内的仁慈呢，他的对他巴舍的秘书萨迦亚听到了这个对话。
So Bhagavad Gita, of course, is famous today all over the world, and it's remembered. It's translated into many different languages, but of course the original Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Lord Krishna in the Sanskrit.
现在呢，国家放歌闻名于世，最原初的国家放歌是用梵文来讲述的。
18 chapters and 700 slokas.
那有18个章节，有700个12条诗节。
So the first 6 chapters mainly focus on karma yoga. The second 6 chapters are more on bhakti yoga, and the final section is on jnana yoga.
前6章专注于卡玛yoga，中间6章bhakti yoga，后6章是 jnana yoga。
So sometimes people think that because the jnana yoga comes at the end, that it must be more important than the bhakti yoga. But Srila Prabhupada explains, he said, no, the good thing is in the middle. And the first 6 and the last 6 chapters are protecting the main feature of the Bhagavad Gita.
有些人认为，既然第二个就把在最后的6章上，它一定是精华部分，但是圣帕帕格说，前6章和后6章呢，实际上就像封面和封底，它保护着中间6章。
So in the first 6 chapters, the very first verse of the Bhagavad Gita begins with Dhritarashtra expressing his own attachment to his family members and how he is not feeling the same affection for the sons of Pandu, who are also his family members.
我刚刚说的第一个世界，在第一个世界当中，对他写的，他就在这个世界透露了他对他自己的儿子的喜爱。虽然潘达的兄弟也是他的家人，但是对他巴什更透露了他更加钟爱他自己的儿子们。
So then the chapter goes on to reveal Arjuna's doubts that he feels that it's not proper to take part in this battle of Kurukshetra.
接下来呢，尔朱呢就透露了他的疑惑，他觉得参加这场战役并不是很恰当的。
And he has different reasons, such as compassion, and he's worried about sinful reactions, and he's concerned also about the future of the dynasty.
尔朱呢的理由呢，包含他的怜悯之情，以及尔朱呢，他担心罪恶反应，他也害怕这个家族遭到毁灭。
So Arjuna reveals his doubts to Lord Krishna, but at the same time he goes on to reveal his intelligence by taking shelter of Lord Krishna.
尔朱呢就向 Krishna 表达了他的疑惑，但是尔朱呢非常有智慧，他向 Krishna 臣服了。
That he confessed his own weakness due to family affection and his how he was confused about the religious duties. But then he also turned to Krishna and asked Lord Krishna to accept him as his student and to instruct him.
尔朱呢坦诚的表达了他的疑惑之情，他内心软弱，所以他感到疑惑。之后他对他自己的宗教职责呢，他感到困惑，但最后呢，他向Krishna臣服，做他的门徒。
So Bhagavad Gita has become known all over the world, and people often like to quote different slokas from the Bhagavad Gita, and they will bring up different analogies and examples which are taken from Bhagavad Gita.
现在的国家梵歌它闻名于世，人们喜欢引述国家梵歌的诗节，并且引述国家梵歌当中的例子。
There was one lady, she was propagating her own philosophy, and she told her disciples, just as Lord Krishna told Arjuna to surrender to him, so you should surrender to me.
这有一位女士呢，就告诉她的门徒说，就像主Krishna要求Arjuna向他臣服，所以呢，他就跟他的门徒说，你们也应该向我臣服。
And then there was another lady also who came up with the idea that she said Krishna told her the Bhagavad Gita is too old and she should write the new Bhagavad Gita.
还有另外一个女士竟然告诉世人说，主Krishna向她透露说，最早的国家梵歌已经太陈旧了，Krishna 命令她写一部新的国家梵歌。
And both of these people have many followers.
这两个人都有大量的追随者。
Of course, we can question where they're following to, where they're going, what is the destination. That is to be discussed.
但他们的追随者命运将如何呢？这是很值得商榷的。
Anyway, Bhagavad Gita is universal knowledge. It's we could translate it in English simply as the Song of God, and it's I first of all came across the Bhagavad Gita when I was a student at university, and they had a humanities course, and one of the options was the Bhagavad Gita, but it was taught by a Christian minister.
国家放歌它是普世的原则，但是后来的人们，我首先呢，我是在大学的时候读到国家放歌，但是这国家放歌是一个是基督教的牧师教的国家放歌课程。
So of course we were not using Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, so I really didn't understand anything from the Bhagavad Gita class. There's so many editions of the Bhagavad Gita, and you can go through them and you may never understand anything.
当然，我们这个教材并不是帕帕德的国家放歌版本，所以呢，我当时也一头雾水，不明白，而且世界上有很多国家放歌的版本，人们读的都不明白。
But still, for hundreds and maybe thousands of years, people are fond of reciting the Bhagavad Gita, just as we were doing today. It's been a custom for people who, when they grow up, as young children, they will learn to recite the slokas of the Bhagavad Gita.
千百年来，人们很喜欢吟诵国家放歌的诗节。就像我们今天所做的，人们就是在庙堂里吟诵这个诗节。小孩子从小长到大，他们就学会了这些诗节。
It is said that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur trained his son Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in reciting the Bhagavad Gita, and while he was still a young boy, he could recite the whole Bhagavad Gita and he could explain the slokas also. So the first section of the Bhagavad Gita, as I said, focuses more on karma yoga, but there's also a clear progression in the teachings of yoga in these first 6 chapters. Lord Krishna has to counter the arguments of Arjuna why he didn't want to fight. And Lord Krishna does that very effectively.
Krishna 就反驳了Arjuna不想作战的理由，但他是怀着爱心来反驳他的。
Just like one of Arjuna's reasons why he didn't want to take part in the battle, he thought it's not compassionate. But Lord Krishna went on to explain the difference between the body and the soul and show that actually there's no question of compassion because the body is going to die one day anyway.
而这第一个理由呢，就是怜悯之情。主 Krishna 就向Arjuna 讲述了躯体和灵魂的区别，就告诉他们没有必要去为躯体而悲伤，因为躯体迟早要毁灭。
If Arjuna doesn't take part in the battle, all these people are going to die anyway. Lord Krishna convinced Arjuna of that.
如果Arjuna不参战，这些人的躯体的迟早也会毁灭的。
Another reason why Arjuna didn't want to fight was he was worried about sinful reactions. But Lord Krishna explained the principles of karma yoga, and that if Arjuna fought, if he did his duty as a Kshatriya, as karma yoga, then there's no reactions for that participation in the battle.
Arjuna 的第二个理由呢是担心罪恶反攻，但是 Krishna 向Arjuna 讲述了karma yoga业报理下，他告诉Arjuna，倘若他履行自己的作为上帝律的职责，他就没有这个罪恶可言。
Arjuna didn't want to take part in the battle because he was worried about the degradation of the dynasty, that there would be unwanted progeny, and the women would be corrupted, the result of their corruption would be unwanted progeny, and Arjuna said that was one reason why he didn't want to fight.
而朱娜的第三个理由是，倘若他作战的话，那么这个家族就会毁灭，之后妇女没有受到保护，是会生出不想要的孩子。
But Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna that if you don't fight, then that will be the cause of unwanted progeny. But if you do fight, you show the right example. That example is more important. But if you don't fight, you're showing a bad example, and that bad example will be the cause of the unwanted progeny.
但是 Krishna 反驳尔朱那说，如果他不去作战的话，他就会树立一个更好的榜样。如果他树立一个坏的榜样，他反而会造成那些不想让人毁灭。
So in the first 6 chapters, as I said, there's a progression of yoga. First of all, Lord Krishna touches lightly on something which is not even yoga, which is called karma kanda, the path of fruitive activities.
刚才说到了，在前6章，Krishna 就谈到了瑜伽这个机器的鉴定过程。在最开始的时候，Krishna 甚至没有提到 Karma Yoga， 他谈到了 Karma Kanda 是业报之路。
Path of fruitive activities. Lord Krishna tells to Arjuna that if you fight and take part in the battle, even you're killed on the battlefield, it opens the doors to liberation and you can enter into heaven. So of course entering into heaven is a very fruitive result. And devotees are not interested in that kind of result.
Krishna 告诉尔朱那说，如果他作战的话，那么天堂大门就会向他敞开。当然，去天堂的不属于奉爱，它是相当有功利性活动的结果。
So karma kanda activities are described in the Vedas, and we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Trigunya Vishaya Veda, nice Trigunya Bhavatuna. That the Vedas deal with the subject matter of the 3 modes of material nature. Rise above the modes, O Arjuna, and be transcendental.
Krishna 告诉尔朱那说，韦达经涉及的是物质自然3属性，你要尔朱那，你要超越物质自然3属性，来到超人的层面上。
So then, after very briefly touching on karma kanda activities, Lord Krishna then elaborates more on karma yoga.
在简略的触及到 Karma Kanda 之部，Karma Kanda 之部之后呢，Krishna 就谈到了 Karma Yoga。
Now karma yoga can be also impersonal. If you go to a Mayavadi ashram, they may also tell you, would you like to do some karma yoga today?
Karma Yoga 呢，也可以是非人格主义的。如果你去一个非人格主义的 ashram 呢，他们就会问你，今天想不想做一下 Karma Yoga？
And they will invite you maybe to sweep the floor or to cut the vegetables or do some simple voluntary service.
他们就是让你去清洁地板啊，或者切菜，去做一些志愿者的工作。
So the principle of karma yoga is that one should work without attachment to the results of activities. One should not enjoy any of the fruit from the activities.
所以 Karma Yoga 的原则呢，就是不怀着执着之心，不依附活动结果去履行活动。
And this is a famous verse, and this is a very well-known verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which is often quoted. It says, Karmani evadikaraste ma paleshu tadachana. Na karma pala heturbur mate sangosva karmani. Lord Krishna is explaining karma yoga for actions, and he's telling Arjuna, you have a right to perform your duty, your adhikar, your qualification is to work. So Lord Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to work. And people like that. They think, Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita that we should work.
所以这个是国家当做一个著名的诗节，你有权利履行你作战的职责，但是你没有权利享受你的作战结果。所以阿底卡还有资格，为什么会告诉尔朱呢？你的资格就是说活动，人喜欢这个活动。
Yeah, people like to work, but they don't remember the next part of the verse, which says, you're not entitled to enjoy the fruit of your work.
所以人们记不住，就是这个世界的下两行，你有权利去工作，但是没有权利享受工作的结果。
Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results.
不要把你认为你自己是活动结果的原因。
Usually we think, I did it, you get some good result, you make some money, you do well in something, you think, I did it, you feel good about yourself. But Lord Krishna says, you're not the cause. The results are due to karma.
有的人就会特别沾沾自喜说，我成功了，我赚了一笔钱，但是实际上，你并不是这些活动的结果原因，这些呢是由你的 karma 业报导致的。
And then Lord Krishna concludes the verse by saying, never be attached to not doing your duty.
这个事件之后，Krishna 下结论说，永远不要弃绝不去履行你的职责，不去履行你的责任。
So in this way, Lord Krishna is describing the principle of karma yoga. Now, karma yoga, as I said, can be impersonalist. The impersonalist people just simply are detached from the result. They don't know Krishna. There's no connection with the Supreme Lord.
所以呢，人们对于 karma yoga 的原则，他们有一些困惑。有一种是非人格主义的解释，他们就会弃绝工作结果。
Just simply working and giving the result to others.
只是工作，然后把工作的结果去给别的人。
In China, they would call it 义工。
中国他们就有很多人去就做义工。
They go to the Buddhist temple, do some 义工 voluntary service for the benefit of others, for the benefit of the temple. So karma yoga, people don't know, they don't have any real knowledge about anything, but they're detached. They're not fruitive workers. They're not trying to enjoy themselves, but they want to work for others.
所以做karma yoga 的人呢，他们实际上他们的知识都是不完备的，他们去从事活动，他们自己不去享受这个活动的结果，但是他们不知道把活动结果给谁。
And Lord Krishna explained this principle of karma yoga to Arjuna because Arjuna was worried about the reactions which would come from taking part in the battle. But Lord Krishna said, no, if you do this, if you fight in this battle in the mood of karma yoga, there's no reactions.
所以Arjuna一开始呢，他不愿意去作战，因为他害怕这个招致自由反应。但是 Krishna 劝说Arjuna说不，你应该去履行你的作为杀敌者的责任，这履行责任你就不会招致自由反应了。
But there's something higher than karma yoga, and higher than karma yoga is jnana yoga, where you attract the mercy of a devotee. You attract the mercy of someone with knowledge, and they see you working, doing voluntary work, and they think, oh, very nice, this person is detached, he's working, he's not a karmi, he's not materialist. And so that person may be inclined to speak transcendental knowledge to him.
但是从事 Karma Yoga 的一个好处呢，就是它会吸引那些有知识的人的仁慈。他们看到这个人呢，他们去做这个慈善工作，就是不去依附活动结果，他们就觉得，他们就会想，哎，这个人他是很好、很仁善的，于是他们就会给他讲知识。
And the karma yogi hears from this person, and he learns about how he's not the body, how he's a soul, and he learns also maybe that there's a supreme soul, or he may learn about the nature of the material energy, and he becomes convinced to detach himself from the material energy. And this way he comes to the platform of Jnana Yoga.
于是这位Karma Yogi，他听到了这些知识，他不是这个躯体，而是灵魂，或者他也听到了有关于自然三形态的知识，以及超灵的知识，他就知道应该何去何从。
So you can see in Bhagavad Gita how the third chapter is Karma Yoga, and then the fourth chapter is transcendental knowledge. Lord Krishna is describing how somebody may be doing Karma Yoga, and then they can come to Jnana Yoga by receiving transcendental knowledge.
所以博伽梵歌的顺序就是在第3章 Karma Yoga 之后，第4章就是超人知识。在从事完 Karma Yoga 之后呢，一个人获得的就会逐渐的获得超人的知识。
So somebody is working in a detached manner, they get benefit. They don't know anything, but even though they don't know anything, they get some benefit. But if they have transcendental knowledge, they understand what they're doing, they'll get more benefit.
所以一个从事 Karma Yoga 的人呢，他一开始呢可能是不太明白他所做的事情呢，他只是不依附活动的结果，但随着他知识的增加呢，他就会获得更多的好处了。
And just like even if we give people beads and tell them to chant Hare Krishna, so somebody may be chanting, they don't know anything. Who's Krishna? I don't know. They just told me to chant. No benefit, of course, because they're chanting. But if somebody knows who is Krishna and something about Krishna's qualities and so on, then they will get more benefit.
就像我们把念珠给别人说，哎，你念诵 Hare Krishna， 然后你问他，有人问他 Krishna 谁呀？他说，哎，我也不知道 Krishna 是谁。但是如果他知道 Krishna 这个人 Krishna 的品质，他就会念诵得到更多好处。
So Jnana Yoga gives one that knowledge to understand his spiritual nature, and then he will think that I'm not the body, I should detach myself from the material world. And the next level of yoga after Jnana Yoga is Dhyana Yoga, which is described in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna introduces Astanga Yoga.
所以当一个人他获得一些知识 Dhyana 之后，他明白他不是这个物质躯体，而是灵魂，他就对物质世界呢更加弃绝了。那之后在博伽梵歌第6章呢，就进入到Dhyana Yoga 禅定瑜伽。
So Astanga Yoga, the yogi learns to meditate on the self within the body. He's meditating on Paramatma. And again, there's a danger that one can think that I am the Paramatma.
于是这位从事于 Astanga Yoga 阿普瑜伽的冥想者呢，他就开始冥想这个灵魂，以及冥想超灵。但是危险性就在于他有可能认为他自己就是超灵了。
there are two schools of philosophy in yoga. One school, they will consider that there's only the super soul. And the other school, they will understand that there are two souls. There is the Jiv Atma and the Paramatma.
所以就有两个学派，瑜伽的两个学派，一个学派认为就只有Jiva个体灵魂，而另外一个学派就认为除了个体灵魂之外，还有 Paramatma 超灵魂。
No, first of all, they understand there's only the super soul.
首先呢，他们意识到呢，只有超灵。
So they think they're meditating on the self, the super soul, and they ultimately want to then give up the body and enter into the oneness.
他们就联想他们自己，他们就想 they want to merge with the surface.
They give up the body and enter into the impersonal light of the Brahmajyoti.
他们想在放弃躯体之后呢，就融入到泛光 Brahmajyoti 当中。
So the Ashtanga Yoga comes after the Jnana Yoga. You come to the meditation, but if the yogi properly meditates, he understands there's two souls. One is the master and he is the servant. Then he will want to engage in devotional service.
那如果他的冥想是正确的话，他会觉悟到超灵是主人，而他自己就是仆人。
So in this way, the 6th chapter concludes with Lord Krishna explaining that of all yogis, the highest yogi is the one who is always absorbed in thinking of me and engaged in my transcendental loving service.
所以在这个TODU章最后一个诗节 ，Krishna 就说，在所有瑜伽师当中，谁对我信心坚定，常驻于我之中，在所有瑜伽师当中，他就是最崇高的。
So in this way, Lord Krishna concludes the description of the yoga ladder. He's told that bhakti is at the top of the yoga ladder. So the next chapter, chapter 7, goes on to explain bhakti yoga.
于是呢，这样子 Krishna 他就结束了前6章的对瑜伽的探讨。之后就结论就是奉爱瑜伽是最高的，所以从第七章就开始了 Bhakti Yoga 奉爱瑜伽。
And the very first verse of the 7th chapter introduces us to the process of Bhakti Yoga, specifically by hearing about Krishna.
于是从第7章开始，就 Krishna 就描述了 Bhakti Yoga 奉爱瑜伽的程序，尤其是从聆听开始。
Chapter 7, verse number 1, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, "Now hear, O Arjuna, how by practicing yoga with your mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt."
我在分隔第7章第1个诗节 ，Krishna 对Arjuna 说 ：“Arjuna，你聆听，你仔细的聆听，这样你就能摆脱一切疑惑。”
So Lord Krishna introduces Bhakti Yoga that one should hear about Krishna. This is Shravanam. The very first of the 9 angas of Bhakti is to hear about Krishna.
主 Krishna 就在这个世界当中强调了 Shravana 聆听。我在梵歌Bhakti Yoga 奉爱瑜伽的9个 anga 当中，聆听是第1个 anga。
And so in the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna goes on to reveal more about himself, explaining about how, well, one of the statements in the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna said, there is no truth superior to him. Everything rests on him, just like pearls are strung on a thread.
在第7章当中，主 Krishna 揭示了有关比他更高的知识。他说，我是一切的，万事万物都依赖我而存在，就如线串珠，就像 线穿着珍珠。
No other authority ever says that they are the highest truth. Only Lord Krishna directly says this to Arjuna and to the world.
Krishna 说没有比我更高的真理了，所以只有 Krishna 他才这样揭示了他自己是最高的权威，就是在这个世界上再没有一个人可以这样称他自己处在这样的地位上。
Lord Krishna explains his separated energy, the material energy which is made up of the 5 great elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and the 3 subtle elements of the mind, intelligence, and ego, that this is all his inferior, separated energy.
Krishna 还描述了他与他分离的这些物质元素，有5大粗糙元素：土、水、火、空、体、态，以及心意、知行、假我这3种精微的元素。
And then Lord Krishna explains the position of the living entity. That he said, there is another energy of mine, O Arjuna, which are all living entities.
主 Krishna 接着又解释了生物体的地位，他说：“Arjuna 呀，还有除此之外，还有一种更高的能量是由生物所构成的。
So living entities, we are also the energy of Krishna, but we are superior to dull matter because we have consciousness.
所以，我们生物体也是 Krishna 的能量，但是我们是高等能量，因为我们比那些迟钝的物质有更高的知觉。”
And then Lord Krishna goes on to explain how there are 4 classes of people who will never surrender to.
接下来 Krishna 又解释说，有4种人永远不会臣服他。
Right? There is the Duskritina Mudha, the person who is like a donkey, who simply works to enjoy the fruit of his work.
第一类就是那些愚蠢的像驴子一样的人，他们只是整天辛勤的工作，想享受工作结果。
And then there are Naradamas, the lowest of people. It means people who were born with an opportunity to take up spiritual life, who had a good birth, but who don't take advantage of it and simply waste their time in material sense gratification.
那还有拿尔达玛，就这些人，他们有很好的出生机会，本来可以从事于在灵性上取得进步，但是他把时间浪费在打扮享乐上。
And then Maya Aparita Jnana means one whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. These people, they try to understand the scriptures by the power of their own intelligence, not listening to the words of the authorities.
玛雅，还接下来的一种人是智慧被假象窃取的人们，他们不听从高等权威，而是想靠自己的努力来去理解这个知识。
And then he describes also those who are atheistic and who are offensive, that they are the 4th class of people, or that they simply blaspheme and criticize others.
第4类人呢是那些无神论者、冒犯者，他们只是在那里做冒犯性的批评。
So they are asuram bhavamashita. This way Lord Krishna describes 4 kinds of people who never surrender, and then he explains 4 kinds of people who do surrender.
在解释完有4类不臣服的人之后，Krishna 又阐释了有4类人会臣服他。
First of all, there are people who are mostly in distress. They will come to Krishna consciousness to take shelter of Lord Krishna from the material energy.
第一类是苦恼者，他们会来到 Krishna 这里求取庇护，想要摆脱物质的苦恼。
And then there are the people who are in search of some material wealth, and they may come to Krishna consciousness. They may somehow think that if I go to Krishna, he will satisfy my material needs.
还有求财者，这些人想着，我到 Krishna 那里呢，也许 Krishna 会满足我的物质的需求。
Some people come to Krishna consciousness simply out of curiosity. They just simply want to understand what is taking place. And the fourth category, people come in search of knowledge.
第三类者是好奇爱问的人，他们想要了解 Krishna 世界到底发生的是怎么一回事儿。第四类人呢是求取知识的人。
In this way, Lord Krishna describes 4 kinds of people who all have sukriti. The 4 people who don't surrender, they're duskritinas. They have no pious activities. But those who come to Krishna, they have some sukriti, which brings them to Krishna. Although they have some material desires, they have some piety, which has brought them to Krishna.
所以那些臣服 Krishna 的人，他们是有着 sukriti， 他们有虔诚的活动。他们虽然有物质欲望，但是因为他们是有 sukriti， 所以他们来到 Krishna 那里。而那些不臣服的呢，他们是 duskriti。
And Krishna then says, from these 4, the best is the one who is in knowledge of me.
主 Krishna 说，在这4类人当中，最好的是那些处在对我的知识当中的人。
When somebody is in distress, after the distress is over, they may go away again from Krishna consciousness.
有些人在他们的苦恼，他们在苦恼当中，当他们的烦恼消失之后，他们自己也消失了。
When somebody comes for some material needs, they may get their material needs and then they give up Krishna consciousness.
有些人是来满足他们的物质需求，当他们物质需求满足之后呢，也放弃 Krishna 知觉了。
And someone may be curious for some time, but after some time they're not curious anymore and we don't see them again.
而有的人很好奇，当他们的好奇心消失之后呢，我们也看不到他们了。
But if they get knowledge, then that knowledge will be with them and they will never forget Krishna.
但是那些想要得到知识的人，他们一旦得到知识，他们就再也不会离开。
So the best, most important thing when people come to Krishna consciousness, we want everyone to get some knowledge, to understand something about Krishna consciousness.
所以呢，最重要的在 Krishna 知觉当中，最重要的是，我们希望人们来到这里呢，他们应该有一定的知识，一定的理解。
We come and sit in the class and hear, try to hear. People, oh no, just let me chant Hare Krishna. But it's important to hear and get this knowledge because that will help you to remember Krishna for the rest of your life.
所以他们应该坐下来，就仔细的聆听讲课。但是有的人呢，他就想，我就在那里念 Hare Krishna 就好了。但是你应该有知识，一旦你有了知识，这一辈子都会尾随着你的知识。
And so we may think, well, process is knowledge. I have to get knowledge. But Lord Krishna then explains that simply by knowledge, you advance very slowly. It takes many lifetimes.
有的人就想，那也许我应该积累知识。但是 Krishna 说了，如果是走知识之途的话，需要很多的生世。
Bahunam Yanmanam Ante Jnanam Brahmam Prapadyante Vasudev Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, one who is actually in knowledge surrenders to me.
在经过生生世世之后，一个真正处在知识当中的人会向我臣服。
So people sometimes ask us, what is the goal of knowledge? Now Lord Krishna is describing to us in the Bhagavad Gita that the goal of knowledge is to surrender to Vasudev Krishna.
有的人会问，你在 Krishna 知觉之中的知识是什么样的目的呢？但 Krishna 说了 ，Vasudeva Sarvamiti， 要了解 Krishna Vasudeva 就是一切。
So we encourage people surrender to Krishna rather than just only cultivating knowledge. If you can surrender yourself to Krishna, then that is very good.
所以我们鼓励人们要向 Krishna 臣服，不仅仅是单纯的去培养知识，倘若能够到达臣服的层面，那就好了。
So Bhagavad Gita then goes on, we come to chapter 8, Lord Krishna, chapter 8 is just a continuation of chapter 7. Chapter 8, attaining the Supreme, Lord Krishna is describing the destination of the living entity will depend on what his consciousness is like at the time of death.
而在第8章的标题是真达至尊，主 Krishna 就解释了，在临终之际，他的下一个目的地取决于他临终时的知觉状态。
Whatever state you have, whatever state of consciousness we have at the end of the life, that will take us into the next body.
我们在临终的时候的知觉状态会把我们带到下一个躯体。
But if we can remember Krishna, then we can go to be with Lord Krishna.
如果我们能记忆 Krishna 的话，就会去 Krishna 那里。
And then we come to chapter 9, which is described as the most confidential knowledge, or the Raja Vidya.
接下来是第9章最机密的知识 Raja Vidya。
And the final verse of the 9th chapter, which is right in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, so it's like the heart of the Bhagavad Gita, describes 4 very important activities which a devotee is meant to engage in.
国家梵歌第9章的最后一个诗节，就在整个国家梵歌当中是处在最中心的地位，它就好比是心脏一样。它讲到了一个奉献者他要做的4件事儿。
Right? Engage your mind in worship. Engage your mind in thinking of me, become my devotee, worship me with love, and offer obeisances to me. In this way, surely you will come to me.
心意恒常想着我，崇拜我，顶拜我，你必会到达我这里。
So this is the most confidential knowledge. This kind of knowledge is not taught to people without the help of the Bhagavad Gita.
所以这就是最被称为是最机密的知识。如果没有国家的梵歌的帮助，是没办法了解这些知识的。
But the real test of the Bhagavad Gita is how much we've become a devotee of Krishna. So many Bhagavad Gitas were there, but no devotees.
但国家梵歌它真正的考验是，它有多少人真正成为了奉献者？因为有那么多的国家梵歌，但是奉献者却寥寥无几。
And it wasn't until Srila Prabhupada wrote his Bhagavad Gita that people started to become devotees.
直到帕布哈德撰写了国家梵歌原译之后呢，才有这么多人奉献者涌现出来。
They would read the Bhagavad Gita. Devotees would distribute to them. They would read it, and they would read, "Oh, I need a spiritual master. I need a guru." And they would come and, what, can you help me find a guru? I want to get a guru. People want to be guided.
当人们读了国家梵歌之后，他们意识到我是需要 guru 的，于是他们询问奉献者，我到哪里能够找到一位能够指导我的 guru 呢？
So everyone else was writing their Bhagavad Gita, but they were just simply putting their own nonsense philosophy and their own speculations in the Bhagavad Gita.
有那么多人为国家梵歌做评注，但是他们只是把自己的荒谬的哲学放在里面。
But it was Srila Prabhupada who opened the door, who opened the eyes of the world to understand what is the real message of Bhagavad Gita.
正是圣帕瓦德，他打开了这扇门，他启亮了人们的双眼，让人们看到国家梵歌的真意。
And of course here in Malaysia, as also in India, we have also like Gita Gyan. We've taught hundreds of people or thousands of people the Bhagavad Gita and the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita.
在马来西亚，当然在印度也是，我们教人们 Gita Gyan， 有关于国家梵歌，成千上万的人通过这个得到国家梵歌支持。
So after the most confidential knowledge, then 10th chapter, you have the chapter Sloki of the Bhagavad Gita, the 4 essential verses of the Bhagavad Gita.
接下来到了第10章，就有插图使用法，就国家梵歌的4个主题诗节。
And Arjuna then had a question to Lord Krishna. He wanted to know, how can I think of you in the ordinary course of the day, when I'm simply engaged in the activities of the world? How can I remember you? And that led to Lord Krishna speaking 10th chapter.
尔朱呢就向Krishna 提出了询问说，当我从事世俗的活动，我怎能恒常的记忆你？这样就来到了国家梵歌的第10章。
And Lord Krishna described more than 80 different ways in which we could see Lord Krishna in this phenomenal world. For example, of flowing rivers, the Lord said, I am the Ganges.
Krishna 在第10章当中呢，他就列举了80个例子，如何在这个物质的现象世界，透过这些现象来看到它。比如说，他说在河流当中我是恒河。
He says, I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras.
我是韦达曼陀当中的 Om 音节 Om。
I am the sound in ether. I am ability in man.
我是以太的声音，我是人的能力。
I am the light of the sun and the moon.
我是日月的光华。
Of beasts, I am the lion.
在野兽当中，我是狮子。
Among men, I am the monarch.
在人类当中，我是君王。
So many different examples are given by Lord Krishna. And then at the end of the chapter, Lord Krishna says, but Arjuna, there's no need of all this detailed knowledge.
所以 Krishna 在列举了这些例子之后，最后他在这章的末尾，他说：“Arjuna，你了解所有这些细节有什么用呢？”
He said, with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support the entire creation.
我只是用我的一小部分就遍透并且维系了整个的创造。
So that single fragment which is pervading the entire, that is the Paramatma, the super soul, which is just a tiny fragment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna.
这里的一小部分就是超灵，超灵它遍透并且维系了整个的创造。而超灵只是至尊人格守神圣主 Krishna 一小部分。
So Lord Krishna had described his vibhutis. This 10th chapter is called Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhutis, the opulences of Krishna. But then our 11th chapter, Arjuna requests Lord Krishna. He said, I want to see your opulences. I want to see that form of yours.
第10章，它是标题是 Vibhuti Yoga， 它就是质朴 Krishna 的富裕。但到了第11章，Arjuna 就进一步提出要求说 ，Krishna 呀，我想见到你的宇宙形象。
And that leads to Lord Krishna showing Arjuna his Vishwarup, the universal form, or you can. He also showed the Kala Rup, his form of time.
这就导致了 Krishna 展示了他的 Vishwarup 或者 Kala Rup 宇宙形象、时间的形象。
And when Arjuna saw this universal form, it was not pleasing to Arjuna, and he requested Lord Krishna, kindly show me your forearm form.
当Arjuna 他目睹了这宇宙形象之后，他并没有心里感到很满足。他向 Krishna 提出请求，请向我展示你的4臂形象。
And Lord Krishna then showed Arjuna his forearm form, but then Arjuna requested Lord Krishna, kindly just show me your original form, your 2-arm form. That is the most pleasing to me.
在展示了4臂形象之后呢，Arjuna 进一步提出请求说，请向我展示您的最原初的2臂形象。这是最令人感到满意的。
And then we come to chapter 12, where Arjuna wants to understand, which way should I think of you? Should I think of you as the all-pervading, or should I think of you as that supreme individual personality.
接下来就到了第12章，阿朱那就问 Krishna： 我应该以何种形体来想着你？是以你遍透万有的这个形象，还是以你作为独立的人格守神的形象想着你呢？
And Lord Krishna says, those who are attached to that impersonal feature, for them advancement is very troublesome.
主 Krishna 说，对于那些依附于非人格特征的，他们的进步非常困难重重的。
It's always difficult for them to advance in that.
以这种途径要取得进步，总是很困难的。
So Lord Krishna established that the one who is a devotee, who is remembering Krishna in his original transcendental form, he is the best of all devotees.
所以主 Krishna 就确定说，那个奉献者总是以他原初的形象想着他的，这是最优秀的奉献者。
So maybe we should. Is there any question? Anyone? Yes. Some questions are there.
有没有问题？
Rajendra.
另外，尔朱呢，刚开始他不想作战，听了国家放歌以后，他又决定作战。他在作战的时候，他用他的箭射向了老祖父比斯马。射完以后，比斯马躺在箭床上，他看起来也特别的悲伤。尔朱呢也在哭泣，所以人们就会问：尔朱呢听了国家放歌，他射倒了比斯马之后还那么悲伤，人们会质疑听了国家放歌以后和没听好像没什么区别。是不是听了国家放歌以后，我们不应该那么太悲伤？
In the beginning, Arjuna didn't want to fight, but after listening to the whole Bhagavad Gita, he fought. Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows, and Arjuna was crying. Someone was questioning that why after listening the whole Bhagavad Gita, still Arjuna was lamenting for Bhishma.
Yeah, somebody asked Srila Prabhupada about, when Abhimanyu was killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, didn't Arjuna lament that his son was killed in the battle of Kurukshetra? Why would he lament? He'd heard the Bhagavad Gita that we're not the body, and the wise don't lament for the living or the dead. So why did Arjuna lament? So
也有人就是问了帕布拉德这个问题，当阿比曼纽被杀死之后呢，尔朱那他悲痛万分，有人就问，既然尔朱那听了整部的国家梵歌，明白了躯体和灵魂的区别，为什么他又为阿比曼纽的死而感到这么的痛苦？
So Srila Prabhupada answered, he said, yes, the lamentation was there, but he did not stop fighting. The next day he went out and he killed that Jayadratha who was responsible for the death of Abhimanyu. He made sure he got revenge on that. So he didn't give up the Kshatriya mood. So lamentation is there, that is natural. But at the same time, he controlled his mind with knowledge.
帕布拉德回答说：“是的，尔朱呢，他虽然悲痛万分，但是第二天他继续履行了他作为刹利利的职责，他杀死了扎哈扎塔。所以这种悲伤呢是自然而然的，但是呢，尔朱呢，他继续履行他作为刹利利的职责。”
So Bhishma was on the bed of arrows, and certainly Arjuna would feel some compassion because it's his grandfather and he has affection for him. But at the same time, it did not stop him from doing his duty.
所以比什马老祖父躺在箭床上，因为是他的祖父，他自然而然的他感到悲痛，但是他并没有因为他的 了这种家族的感情而停止他的职责。
Okay. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, you were telling the difference between compassion to the body and compassion to the soul. Sometimes when we try to help a person, like a friend, how do we know the advice or suggestions we are trying to give will help the person on the material platform, or will help the person on the level of the soul? Or do we even have the capacity to know that? 所以问题就是，Maharaj 他讲了对躯体的怜悯以及对灵魂的这个怜悯。所以，当我们有的时候想去帮助我们身边的人，比如说一个朋友的时候，我们怎么知道我们的想法或者我们的建议只是在物质层面帮助这个人，还是在灵魂的层面能够帮助到这个人？或者说，我们是否有这个能力去区分
Yes, it's a difficult situation. Living in the material world, we have to deal with these kind of problems. We have to understand that we have to be sensitive to people, and we have to try to show the human side of a devotee. You don't want to be callous and cold-hearted. Oh, it's not the body, you know. One time there was a Rath Yatra, and some elderly person got ran over by the chariot, you know. And one devotee saying, just chant Hare Krishna. You know, other people were thinking, oh my God, get an ambulance and, help them. You know? But and the devotee said, just chant Hare Krishna. No. We cannot be so callous and cold-hearted. We do have to show some care for others.
所以这个因为在物质世界呢，这确实是一个棘手的事情。我们应该是敏感，不应该对其他人特别冷漠、心肠，就是漠不关心的。有一次呢，在潭柘街上有一个老人呢，就被弹车的那路压到了。当时呢，有一位封建者就说，只要唱诵 Hare Krishna， 然后其他的人呢就想，我们赶紧叫个救护车吧。所以我们不应该是很硬，很那个心肠很冷，很漠不关心对人。
So there are two sides. On one side, there is the spiritual vision, but on the other side, there is public opinion, and that is also an important factor. You have to consider public opinion. You cannot just only think about spiritual knowledge.
所以有两方面，一方面是灵性知识，另外一方面是公众舆论，不能仅仅的一味的只是关注灵性知识，还要考虑公众的观点。
One time there was a fire in a building in Australia, and the devotees somehow they rushed there and they brought sheets and they held out a big sheet, and people jumped off the building into the sheet. And so the devotees saved the lives of several people. And it came in the newspaper how Hare Krishna comes to the rescue and saved the lives of these people from the fire. And Prabhupada said, oh, very good, it's very good publicity.
有一次一栋大楼着火了，然后奉献者呢，他们就拿着那个白色的床单，他们就在楼底下，他们就撑着这床单。就营救那些从楼上跳下来的人，结果呢，第二天报纸就做了很多的报道，就是 Hare Krishna 营救了很多这个火灾现场的人们。然后当这个消息传到帕帕德的耳中的时候，帕帕德非常满意。
So we do have to consider public opinion. Otherwise, we'll be ruined.
所以我们确实要关注公众的公共舆论和公共的观点，否则的话我们就完了。
Okay. Yeah.
But sometimes we think, oh, my friend should change her job, or she should be living in this place, or she should break up with her boyfriend. How do we know our thoughts what do we think is better for the person is actually helping her soul to progress, or it's only some material things, because our mind is very limited. 就是有的时候，比如说我们告诉一个朋友你应该换一个工作，你应该跟你男朋友分手，或者去别的地方生活，我们怎么知道是否这个建议真正对他的灵魂是有利的，或者只是因为我的头脑非常有限。
Well, you have to consider the person. How much are they sensitive, and how much are they aware that they're not the body? If they're not aware that they're not the body, if they're deeply attached to the material body, and you're just simply thinking about their soul, then they won't be very much appreciative of what you try to do to help them.
那你必须得明白，你看这个人他到底是对于他不是这个躯体是灵魂，他有在多大程度上有这种觉悟。如果这个人还是很有躯体化概念，那你说这番话呢，对他帮助很大。
So first of all, you want to make some kind of relationship, some kind of friendship with the person, and when they feel some affection and closeness to you, then you can explain more to them about how you want to benefit them.
首先呢，你要和他建立一种关系。当这个人意识到呢，对他是很友好的，很关心他的，那之后呢，他才可以在这个知识方面取得进步。
Maharaj, I think my goal is whether we can know we are giving the right suggestion, the right advice to the person, because sometimes we don't know if we have the capacity to help the person on the soul level, or it's only something material.
We don't know what?
Whether we are giving the correct suggestion, whether we have the capacity to getting the person on the soul level, or it's only material thoughts. 就是我的困惑是，我们是否知道自己是否能够，我们自己是否能够给予别人重视的建议？我们是否有这个能力去在灵魂的层面上引导别人，还只是物质的层面？
Well, we know from scriptures how to benefit people. Just like the chanting of the holy name is beneficial to all living entities. You want to benefit living entities simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The spiritual sound vibration purifies the atmosphere. Then we also distribute prasadam.
从经典的角度知道我们怎么能够造福他人。我们知道唱诵 Hare Krishna 可以利益众生，所以唱诵 Hare Krishna 以及开发 prasadam 就可以造福他人。
Of course, not many people appreciate the effect of the chanting of Hare Krishna. You may have neighbors, they complain about the noise.
那当然，有一些邻居呢，他们根本就不欣赏，他们觉得是制造噪音的。
And so we have to consider everything: time, the place, the circumstances. You want to benefit people. We know from scriptures how to benefit people, giving some kind of Krishna consciousness. Maybe in the form of transcendental knowledge, it may be in the form of mercy.
就是我们应当考虑时间、地点、环境。如果我们想要造福利益他人的话，也许是可以通过知识，或者通过仁慈。
But in the Christian Bible, they say, "Don't cast your pearls before the swine." You know, you have something valuable like pearls. You don't want to just throw them in front of the pigs. You want to make sure that they're given to people who know the value of these things. So you want to give people spiritual benefit. You want to try to educate them about how you're trying to give them benefit.
在英语当中有一个谚语，就是说不要把你的珍珠扔到猪的面前。有些人呢，他们不能知道这个事物的价值。但是首先呢，我们要看他在多大程度上能够知道这个知识的价值。
You have to be realistic and understand what you're doing. Who is you want to benefit people. You want to make sure they appreciate what you're doing. You want proper receptivity to your efforts.
所以我们要对我们所做的事情呢，要就是 从实际出发是现实一点，我们希望能够为别人带来好处，但是呢，我们也要考虑对方的接受程度。
So when we distribute books, we like to see that we give a book to somebody who can read. You give the book to somebody who can't read, what's the good? Well, you could say, well, they just hold the book, they benefit. Yeah, okay, that's true. They do benefit just by touching the book. But if they can read the book, then they can get much more benefit.
就像派书的时候呢，我们希望把书派给一个真正能够打开他读书的人。当然也有这种说法，也说到一个人只要触碰到这个书就能有好处了。但是，那么他翻开书读这个书，它的好处将会更多。
And the books have to be understandable. They have to be written in a manner in which the message is clearly understood.
而且这个书呢，应该是被人们所理解的。他们应该以这种方式去来阅读这些书籍，好让他们自己能够真正的理解这些书的内容。
If you print the book, like in Hong Kong, sometimes you print the book and the characters are so small, nobody can read them. You know, people will open the book, they just throw it away because all the characters are so small, you know, can't strain their eyes to read it. And so, what's the point of that kind of distribution? You know, you're just simply collecting money.
在香港，他们印刷的有一些书呢，字体特别小，人们打开书呢，他们都很费眼来读这些字体，他们就把它放在一边。所以，结果呢，印刷这书籍的目的呢，只是去为了去得到一些捐款而已。
Okay, any other question?
还有没有其他问题？
Yes, Rajendra?
乌兹野战争的目的是消灭邪恶的人，为什么还有那么多虔诚的人也被杀了？
In Kurukshetra, the purpose is to kill those impious people. Why so many pious people are also destroyed?
Well, the pious people all got liberation, right? Because they're killed in the presence of Krishna, so they got elevated either to the higher planets, they got special mercy.
这些虔诚的人呢，他们都得到了解脱，因为他们是在Krishna 面前被杀死的，或者是他们被提升了。
But you say pious, actually they were not so pious. They were all called there to be killed because of their sin, because they had offended the great devotee Draupadi. So Lord Krishna brought them all there to die. Whether Arjuna killed them or not, they were all going to die because they were guilty of offending the great devotee.
你说他们是虔诚的人，但是他们到底有多虔诚呢？他们曾经冒犯了就是伟大的奉献者卓帕迪，所以他们都被召唤到战场上，都被杀死，而且他们迟早也会被杀死。
So we think, oh, pious people. No, actually not so pious. They had some sinful sins to be atoned for, and the atonement was death. They had to die.
所以有的人说他们是虔诚的，但事实上并不是。他们犯了罪，然后他们应该为此而赎罪。他们为此赎罪的方法就是他们该被杀死来赎罪。
You want to say something, Shia?
Hare Krishna. So we'd like to thank His Holiness Bhakti International Swami for his wonderful explanation of Gita Jayanti. So நம்ம நன்றி செலுத்துகிறோம். நம்ம திரு பக்தி இன்டர்நேஷனல் சுவாமி அவர் சுவாமி பிரபுபாதாவோட டைரக்ட் சீடரு. ஸோ அவர் சைனா இதெல்லாம் பிரச்சாரம் பண்ணுறாரு, தாய்லாந்து. ஸோ நம்ம ரொம்ப ஃபார்ச்சுனேட்டாக இருக்கும் இவர்கிட்ட கேட்குறது இன்னைக்கு. ஸோ இந்த நாளில் கீதை ஜெயந்தி நாளில் நம்ம today is a Gita Jayanti special. So we also have a Singapore book marathon. So we are very fortunate to have His Holiness with us. So we like to get a sponsor for those like to sponsor Bhagavad Gita. So we like to call Mulakaranpu sponsor for Bhagavad Gita. So without you, we like to call and receive from Maharaj.
赞助了4本佛家梵歌。
Get one Maha Apple. Bonus.
还有一个苹果吗？
Hare Krishna. So we have a special. So the Bhagavad Gita வந்து நம்ம ஸ்பெஷலா கொடுக்குறோம் இந்த கீதா ஜெயந்தினால. எப்பயும் 35 வெள்ளி விற்கிறோம், இப்போ வந்து 25 வெள்ளி தான். ஸோ யார் ஸ்பான்சர் பண்ண போறீங்களோ உடனே எடுத்து அங்கே மகாராஷ்டிரேருந்து எடுத்து நீங்கள் எடுத்துக்கலாம். யாரும் anyone like to sponsor the Bhagavad Gita can straight away take from Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Anyone?
谁想要赞助佛家梵歌？
中文我讲完了。
可以直接中文的佛家梵歌可以直接请马哈拉那拿这个书。
So any devotees like to sponsor? யாரோ நீங்க யாரோ பகவத் கீதா ஸ்பெஷலா கொடுக்குறோம். மேபி நீங்க